I already clapped, so keep it tight, keep it shut. Unless they fucked it up. Did they fuck it up?
Well, it just looks really good.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, she's about to fuck it up.
What's up, brewskis? My name is Marco Dupa. With me, as always, the great and the powerful Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
What's up, y'all?
Tonight's brew, we got a special brew, and we got a special brew.
You like that?
Yeah. Friend of the podcast has been on before a lifetime ago.
It's been a while.
And we're glad to have him back. It's a friend of the show. I'm back. Sketch and stand-up comedian, Second City alumni. It's our friend and yours. It's Bryan Andino.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you.
We're so happy to have you back.
Yes.
Good.
Tonight's brew is from the Sideward brewer. Fuck! I can't do anything right.
So nervous.
I need a script.
You want me to do the intro for you?
Please.
All right. So what do we got here? All right, tonight's brew is the Sideward Brewing Company. It's labeled Bone-Eyed. Let's see. Czech dark lager. I'm going to turn that there for the camera to see. I don't know if we get a nice view of it, but it's a nice looking can. Feels nice and cold. I'm excited to drink it.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts on it.
Wow, it's great.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's way better than what I could.
No problem. We got this.
What's on tap for tonight? We got some more thoughts on the DC Studios announcement from James Gunn. So we're gonna bring that back for a little bit. And what else do we got?
We have the AMC news about the current plan. We'll see how long that stays a plan. For them to start charging per seat location, as you would in a theater, if you will, a theater or an aeroplane, if you will. An
aeroplane.
Yeah.
All right, all that and probably nothing else because I'm already so angry with myself. This is episode 381 of the One Beer In podcast. Oh, there you go, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To be found by someone to save you when you're down. Yes, I'm bored when it's bright out. So bored when it's bright out.
I was a little worried.
4 to 5 a.m. takes me to a place where I fit in.
We do.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is the One Beer In podcast, the podcast where 2 brews, sometimes 3, open up a brew, see where that one brew takes us. I don't know where my fucking head is at, but I promise you I'll get it back together by the time this show ends.
It's okay.
All right? Episode 381. Andino, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's nice to be back. It's like 9 years since I've been with you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
You gotta go. You gotta go back into the archives.
Yeah.
Please don't. Please don't.
There's a lot of filth back there.
Yeah.
Just wasn't, it just could have been a.
Let's just move on. We don't got time.
All right, so let's just get rocking and rolling. The DC Studios announcement. You had some thoughts on it.
Yes. All right. So I know you guys discussed it last week, but I'm a huge comic book guy, and DC Comics for the longest time it's been struggling to say the least outside of Batman properties. I just wanted to add on because last week, Marco, you mentioned that you didn't want so much of just either a straight continuity or just your own standalone side movies that have no interconnectedness.
I just thought that it's a good idea. I thought that they were building something that was more interesting than having another shared universe. No,
and certainly so. And I do think that they can still do that. And the neat thing, I think, right now, and this is all dependent on if they do a good job of separating, letting it be known as they advertise their movies, like this is the main cinematic universe, and they've already established that there's going to be called Elseworlds, which I'm cool with, because if you go to a comic book store, and you have all this rack on the rack of wall here. You've got all these comics. They're not all in the same continuity. All the DC ones aren't all tied together. All the Marvel ones are. You're going to get some that are tied together. However, there's also going to be a random She-Hulk spin-off series, a random Deadpool that isn't in the main continuity. So I personally am excited because Marvel has done, I think, a great job with the MCU, but something that they haven't really touched on only recently is like, the whole multiverse aspect. And it's leading up to their next Avengers film with Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty and all that. But I think DC has a great opportunity now because you are starting over, and they should.
Yeah.
You are starting over. I'm glad they're not trying to shoehorn the Batman into that universe. I'm glad it is its own thing. But you have the opportunity now to do some interesting things. And the fact that we're getting a Joker sequel with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, and it's a musical, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
That sounds like it's going to be a fun, like, weird sequel. It's the first comic book movie that's ever been a musical, as far as I'm aware. That sounds like a really fun project to see.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more films and more projects within Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. I loved that movie. I can't wait to see more of that. But I also don't need, in those sequels, I don't need you to shoehorn a Martian Manhunter cameo.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Or cram in, like, well, we've got to establish Justice League. I'm like, no, just let it be its own thing. Whatever stories they want to tell that take place in that city, tell them.
Right.
So I am excited, though, to see, because they mentioned, like, James Gunn mentioned Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman are their diamond characters.
Sure.
And you're not going to put a lot of immediate focus on them. They will be around, like, we are getting Superman Legacy, which I'm so excited for a proper Superman movie.
Yeah.
Waited so long for this. Very excited about that, but also it's exciting because the thing is, a lot of people forget that, like, before the MCU started, outside of comic book fans, nobody really knew or gave a shit who Iron Man was.
Right.
He was like a B-tier hero. And then after a great first film, bam, in the public lexicon, A-plus character. And I'm really grateful that Marvel still didn't make adjustments based on that popularity. I was worried for a couple of years that they were going to make Iron Man the leader of the Avengers because, like, he's the most popular one. Oh, well, let's put him in the front.
Right.
The same way that the Fox X-Men movies suddenly made Mystique so important. It's like, not that important to the X-Men here, but they made that character so important because of Jennifer Lawrence in that role. So I was really grateful that they still made sure to establish, like, an Age of Ultron, and then in the first one as well, but that Cap was the leader of the group, and I was really grateful for that, because, like, that's a great, important little detail that I wanted to see represented in the films. And so I'm glad that they were able to continue to build that. But on the flip side now, with DC just starting fresh, you have your main characters, like your Superman, your Batman, your Wonder Woman. However, you don't have to worry about landing them immediately. They are they've survived the public lexicon for 75 plus years, these characters. They've evolved, they've changed, they've grown. And there's a reason they're still relevant and popular today. But now the idea that you can introduce, like they talked about doing a Green Lantern Corps HBO series, which is going to be kind of like maybe a sci-fi True Detective, which that sounds awesome.
I'm on board for that.
I want to check that out. And apparently that's going to be a part of their bigger story they're telling in time, which, cool. Give me those breadcrumbs. But, like, the important thing is, and Marvel had their growing pains. Some movies, they put too much focus on establishing things for the future. Age of Ultron's guilty of that. Some of their other projects have been at times guilty of that. But just focus on making a good movie, a good show, telling a good story. And you'll get people invested if you make a good story. So, like, you can make all these other characters a little more relevant in the public lexicon, and then when you bring them in and, like, you're not saying Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman don't exist out there. You can acknowledge they exist, but we're not around them. The only equivalent I could say is if Marvel were launching now and they only introduced Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, so it's not even the main Hank Pym Ant-Man. So, like, introducing these lesser heroes, but establishing that there are other big heroes around. I think that's a very interesting and exciting new way to introduce a cinematic universe that you're going to do. And, like, I hate when, sorry to go on a little tangent here, I hate when film franchises needlessly build a cinematic universe. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the monster one that they tried doing,
Dark
they stopped
universe,
after
yeah,
one
yeah,
film.
yeah,
right.
You know, there's a lot that other things have tried. There was talks of a Robin Hood cinematic universe. Like, I don't need a Little John spinoff. No, thank you.
That was so fun.
But like, there is a lot of history of these characters sharing the space together from comics and the incredibly successful Justice League animated series of early 2000s.
Sure.
So like, I'm excited at the prospect of building to something, but at the same time, like, they're talking about making a Swamp Thing show or movie that's in that universe, but like not connected to anything. It's like, cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited by the idea of all these projects, and I'm also excited and not, we're not beholden to whatever continuity they're trying to build or tell. So like, the excitement of, you guys said it, having your cake and eat it too. Like, you kind of have the opportunity to do that now that you've already established that Joaquin Phoenix Joker film. You've already established this Matt Reeves Batman film. Those aren't even connected, and now you're separating a new universe. Like, I'm excited by it. And look, I'm a longtime comic book guy, and some of the things they announced, I don't know anything about. I heard about it the first time ever as James Gunn uttered those words out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But it excites me because I didn't know a damn thing about the Guardians of the Galaxy when they got introduced. When they said, "Oh, we're making a Guardians of the Galaxy film," and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Cool." Like,
Ooh.
yeah, I had never heard of them, but if Marvel felt that like this is the lineup we've got set up, I'm like, cool. Then they have confidence in it. I look forward to it, and they have not let me down yet in that regard as far as introducing new characters in that way. So obviously Warner Brothers has made some hiccups in the past, but they didn't have, a Kevin Feige, which is now James Gunn here, to kind of help center everything and have kind of the final say on building what we're building here, as opposed to Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, like just throwing things against the wall and see what would stick. And a lot of it didn't, and a lot of it, for me personally, didn't, to the point where I wasn't even
So
happy.
how do you feel about the Snyderverse?
I don't like it. I don't care about it.
Don't like
I used to be really annoyed about it just because like people were getting paid millions of dollars to like ruin characters that I love. And as I've grown and matured, I had a moment, I think I may have mentioned it to you last week, where it's like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where it's just like, Indiana, let it go. Like, I just had to let go of the rage I felt about like, all right, Batman and Superman in the same movie should be a huge deal. That should, on its own, be $1 billion in the box office.
Well, they wanted it to be.
And it should have. The name value alone, it should
Sure,
have. And
yeah.
it didn't. And I think that's a testament to the fact that it wasn't, whatever you want to say, oh, it's the ultimate cut. I watched what was in theaters, and I didn't like it.
Did you watch the Snyder cut of
I did
Justice
not.
League?
I did not. And I've heard good things, but I'm
They
also...
lied to you.
Look, I don't... I just know that I saw Man of Steel. I didn't like it. I saw Batman v Superman. I didn't like that. And I saw Suicide Squad. I didn't like that. I know David Ayer directed it, but like, I've already noticed I'm not a fan of what they're trying to give me.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair for me to go in and be like, let's better turn it around.
Right,
or
right.
I'm going to go
This'll
in
be the
knowing...
one.
Yeah, I'm going in knowing I'm not a fan of where
Well,
the
that's what they
story
said.
is. And-
That's not our fault. That's what they said. They're like, oh, you guys just didn't get to see his vision. And then when he had his chance, it was like, well, it's still bad.
I
So,
saw
like,
his
who,
vision.
like-
I saw Man of Steel.
Sure.
I saw Batman v Superman, and that was enough to let me know I don't want to see any more of this vision.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So,
right.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
There are people who love it. Good for them.
keep goading you to
That's
shit on
okay.
Zack Snyder. It's my favorite pastime.
No, he's being healthy about
Let
this.
it go.
Let it go.
I haven't reached that moment of zen yet.
No.
You know,
In due time.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I gotta keep the fire on.
No, this show dies when you find Zen. We gotta keep it
It was
boiling.
immediately the final episode.
Yeah,
We keep feeding him
You don't
beers.
even finish the episode. It's like, oh, that's it. And you guys just close your monitor and like, well, that's it. Start unscrewing things.
then it just
We,
fades. to
we don't
slow
have a show
black.
anymore. Yeah.
I leave my own apartment for some reason.
But I am, look, things can change. Studio heads can change. Things can change for what their lineup is. But from what they've announced, I'm really interested. And, you know, as we start getting casting information, as soon as we get more information on who's directing and what's going on these projects and who's going to be involved, you know, I imagine my excitement will continue to grow, but I will still, excuse me, have a cautious optimism. I'm just
Yeah.
going to be like, okay. And I felt that way similar with the Batman. I'm like, trailers looked great, but I have been burned before. So I was like, okay, I'm interested. And then when I saw it, I was just like, oh my God. And like, I got invested heavily after I saw that. So that's how I'm kind of approaching whatever comes out, in the future now with the DC. I think they're just calling it the DC Universe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's nice because DC has not, on a large scale, cinematically speaking, live action speaking, had a fair representation for a long time. And for the longest time, all they could do was Batman, and that's only because Nolan knew what to do with it. And before that, Tim Burton did some really cool things with it, and then that tapered off.
No Joel Schumacher love.
There's some fun things about Batman
fun.
Forever.
Those
and
are
look,
fun movies.
I can enjoy it more now because I have greater things that have come after. If the last Batman movie, if it's 2023 and the last Batman movie was in 1997 and it was Batman and Robin, there'd be a rage in me.
Yeah.
I'd be on this podcast yelling right now.
Right.
Like,
Chill.
yeah, but
Chill.
because I can now look at it and pretend that it is paying. I don't know if it's homage or homage. I don't remember the exact word for it. Just the way
Depends
to
if you're
pronounce that.
French.
Yeah. I'm not, so still don't know.
Yeah.
But if they're paying homage to the Adam West Batman, that's how I look at that movie. It is goofy as hell.
Yeah.
It is silly as hell. I laugh for the reasons I shouldn't laugh, but it is fine for that.
Sure.
George Clooney wants to kill himself over it. You ever hear him talk about it? He talks about it a lot.
I don't know to that extreme.
No, dude, seriously. Every time he talks about it, I've seen him do it multiple times. He'll apologize
He should probably stop talking
to the
about it.
audience. He'll
He's
apologize.
like a therapist. That's unhealthy.
If it makes
Dude,
him that upset.
Move on, man. That was
Yeah.
1997.
Honestly, bro, it's like, dog,
You've had a great career.
You've had a massive
We've
career.
moved
Why
on.
are you still? Yeah.
You move on.
You think
Indiana.
anybody thinks about George
Let it
Clooney? No one thinks about George Clooney as Batman. No one. Even when if you're thinking about like his
Because he
worst
wasn't.
movies, he just wasn't.
He did his voice as George Clooney. He was like,
Yeah.
"Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman." I was like, "Yeah, that's George Clooney in that
That's George
outfit."
Clooney wearing. Like, oh shit, that's George Clooney.
That's always the case.
That's just like in universe, people see him like,
Is that George
"That's
Clooney?
fucking George Clooney. Like you said, Bruce Wayne. Like,
Why is he wearing a
I
suit
think
with
that's
nipples
George
on it?
Clooney.
I'm
I think
Batman.
That's George Clooney. No.
Nice.
Sound like George Clooney. Yeah, he'll apologize to the audience, and then he'll be like, "It's one of the worst decisions I ever made. I'm so sorry that I did that. I almost killed the franchise with my performance."
Yeah.
It's like, it's not really your fault, man.
No. And to be fair, look, like, if you put Christian Bale, who in my opinion is a great Batman, you put him in that movie.
It's starting to become a controversial take.
No.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But
he's
you
a-
see people now like, oh,
Well,
the Batman voice
okay.
went too
There's
crazy in the
revisionists
third
everywhere.
one.
Yeah, the
and-
problem. All right, now side tangent to the side tangent.
Here we go.
It's like I loved The Dark Knight. Dark Knight changed my life. Like after that, I was like, oh, I want to get involved in film and production.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, a couple years after that, I moved to Chicago, which is where they filmed a lot of The Dark Knight. So like that movie changed my life.
Just to see George Clooney.
I love it. Just to see George Clooney. I'm like, Mr. Clooney, and I roamed the streets for 7 years, and I was like, I guess I should leave. But the fact that like I love the Batman, and I would say I probably love the Batman more than I love the Dark Knight on a Batman scale. Doesn't mean I love the Dark Knight any less. I just think that the Batman took all the things that I love about the Dark Knight and did it better. And I think all of the Dark Knight's weaknesses, I think the Batman made them positives and strong positives. So and the thing is, the Batman wouldn't exist without the Dark Knight being in the public lexicon.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You needed the fact that in the first few minutes of the first time you see Batman, the fact that he's doing detective work and at a crime scene, it automatically did more than Christian Bale's Batman did detective work. And look, I love Bale's Batman, but he wasn't really a detective.
No.
Yeah.
He in the Dark Knight, he analyzed one bullet with a computer.
There was the bullet, and then there was the scene in the bank. where
But
it's
there
just
was
like,
but like he didn't even do detective. Those were just like marked. Some of the marked bills I gave. Some of the marked bills he gave them. So like that's not he didn't really do a lot of stuff here. He did he do detective work? Yes, you could check that box off. But you couldn't write a long essay about the detective work he did.
World's Greatest Detective?
No. So, I still think he's great. I love him in the role, but I loved Robert Pattinson in the role, and I look forward to seeing him grow in that role, both as Bruce Wayne and Batman, because I know his Bruce Wayne will evolve in the next movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you can enjoy both and not have to. I don't know. For me, I feel like people have to have an extreme. It always like it's either the best one ever or it's the worst now.
Very hyperbolic on the internet.
I'm not. Yeah, I guess I feel maybe too. I was gonna say I feel too old to even want to get in that argument because I'm like it's like if you don't like
fair,
it, that's
yeah.
fine. Like I love it.
Right.
Oh, you love the Snyderverse? Good for you. Whatever. Like
We're
enjoy
old.
it.
I think people who have grown up in our generation are the way that you age on the internet is in dog years. So yes, you are too old for that argument because
Yeah.
you've had it so many times.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's
It's
fair.
like, fucking geez, are we gonna keep doing this? Like, it's fine if you like that thing, man. I'm not gonna fight
Yeah,
over
right.
it. I like this thing.
Yeah.
But we've had this argument, time, and it's a time-honored argument.
Yeah.
I went back and rewatched the Batman.
Okay.
Speaking on it, and it took honestly, it took like I don't know, like 3 or 4 tries because every time like I'm ready to watch the movie, it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, I can't, I just can't dedicate. The
Well, I'm
time
gonna be up
to
at 6:30
exactly
after
So
I watch the credits.
I finally set aside a day where I was like, it was an early day and I was already in bed and it was like 12. I was like, shit, I have time to rewatch this movie. I'm gonna go for it. And I had a glowing review of it when we saw it in theaters. The movie holds up, man. It's a good fucking movie,
Yeah.
dude. I still think it's a hair too long.
Okay.
Like, I think it was demonstrated the limit that the Riddler would go to. I think his motivations were already kind of clear before we got to the drowning scene and like all the
Spoilers.
oh yeah. Sorry if you haven't seen the Batman. But like the I feel like there's a climax after the climax.
Yes.
And like maybe that could have been just cut down a little bit, but that's kind of a nitpick on my end.
Sure.
It really fucking holds up, man.
It is, though.
Really, really good.
And I wouldn't argue anyone who wants to say they felt it was a little too long. For me, it goes by like that. I do agree that there is an ending and then another ending near the end.
Yeah.
But to me, it's such a great slow burn. Every little moment of tension builds to the next, and to me, that's the big payoff. And I appreciate the fact that it's a film noir style, very
Yeah.
dark and gritty, and then at the end, it becomes a disaster film.
Yeah,
Suddenly,
yeah,
as
yeah,
the water
right,
starts
right.
like so.
Yeah.
Suddenly
Good
it
point.
gets very chaotic and things change. So I do appreciate it. Just it
The
feels like if you're
scale
reading,
widens like really quickly.
Absolutely. I think of it as like if you're reading a graphic novel and this was that story. It's just like, oh, I've been reading him go through all the steps to find the Riddler, and it's like, oh, they got him.
Right.
That should be, but it's like, oh, it's all the things that he had still intricately set up. That now the fallout of it, and again,
Well, it's
for
like
me,
reading a graphic novel and then they catch the Riddler, and then you look at the book itself. You're like, there's a lot of book left. Like, what could they be doing after this?
Is this
For
all
sure.
just like cover art in the back, or like
concept art, director's notes.
more story? It's funny you say that though, because I don't know if I ever picked up on that it changes so much in scope. That like last quarter of it. Because I think I've only rewatched it once, and I enjoyed it a ton. I want to rewatch it again, but I like in rethinking about it now that we've talked about it. I like, and I think that it was necessary to do that in order to change the Batman into an uplifting hero.
Yes.
That obviously that. Those near end scenes of him lifting the people out of the rubble and
Absolutely.
stuff, like him being looked at as his hero and not just something to be feared. I think that transformation happens in that last
Absolutely.
portion and wouldn't have happened otherwise. We would have ended the movie with him still being this, creature of the night and
Absolutely.
dangerous.
And what's
thing.
funny is
The
that
whore?
Yes, the creature of the night.
the catalyst of that is that moment he's like pouncing that Riddler goon in the face, and they take his mask off and they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm vengeance."
Yeah.
And it just has this like side turn,
Yeah.
like, "What did you fucking say?" Like, that's my line.
Yeah.
Like that was like the
Killer scene.
No, me, not you.
yeah. Like it just
You can't do that.
that, and then everything, as you said, everything that happens immediately after that changes how that character looks at himself and what he can represent. And
Sure.
I love it. And again, this is something different than we have seen in any other live action incarnation of Batman.
Right.
Because the thing is, like, it's the same way that James Bond has survived this long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to, you know, you went from this Sean Connery era to like this goofy Roger Moore era. And then they went darker with, skip George Lazenby, he had one movie. Sure. But you had like Timothy Dalton, which was like a little darker than like audiences were ready for after this playful Roger Moore. Then we kind of leveled out with Brosnan. Then that got campy. And then it was like, all right, Daniel Craig, and it got a lot gruffer.
Yeah.
So you have to do something to change it up and make it fresh for it to stay relevant. So, you know, I'm a huge Batman fan. I will see a Batman movie if it's coming out. But, like, you also have to... I'm not just going to be like, ooh, Batman! Like,
right.
do something to catch my interest and tell me a story in a way either I didn't expect or... I have not seen before done by this character you know, on a large scale. While also, again, staying true to the character. And look, we'll talk about the Ben Affleck Batman. Like, the suit looked great. I liked how it looked, especially like in the Justice League. I thought it looked really cool, his suit. You know, very Dark Knight Returns inspired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like and you know, yes, he's dark and brooding and he's a good looking guy with a good chin for that costume. But like, that's where the similarities end for me as far as that character, because like to me the whole thing of him killing, that's a big problem for me. And if you're gonna have him kill, which if you're gonna do it, fine, but you have to at least engage that in the story as to why. And then they didn't at all.
Yeah,
it was
like
a casual like
deal.
like not even, it was hardly mentioned. It was
Just
something.
what he does.
And that annoyed me, because also, you're okay with killing now and you'll kill Lex Luthor's goons, but Joker, who killed your surrogate son Robin, we'll put him in Arkham. Like, that should have been the first motherfucker you killed.
Yeah.
So I had annoying story problems with that. And again, I let that go. I was like, I've got the animated series of the 90s with Kevin Conroy. I've got the Christian Bale trilogy. And now I've got the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves, The Batman verse, which so happy about that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where that goes.
You wouldn't get the Matt Reeves Batman, and you wouldn't get this crazy Joker sequel if they were so hard pressed to like fulfill this Snyderverse vision that he had. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like all of those things. It would have been fucking Jared Leto in that movie. You know, and you would have had to watch Jared Leto do Jared Leto stuff.
Damaged.
You know? And you would have had to watch him get that tattoo.
Get it? Do you get it? You see the tattoo with a robin with a knife through? Do you get it? Because I don't know if you get it, but like,
yeah. Let me tell you something. I don't know. I mean, Jared Leto, if there is ever a person who has gotten by on pretty privilege, it's Jared Leto. I mean, Jared Leto is so mediocre at everything other than Dallas Buyers Club. I just think I think he sucks. I think he sucks. 30 Seconds to Mars sucks. Dude, Requiem for a Dream, he's pretty good at that.
I was going to say, what are you talking about?
He's pretty good at that. Blade Runner 2049, anybody could have done that shit. Anybody could have done that. All he had to do was stand there, be stoic, speak under his breath.
True, but also, you know, that character is supposed to be this weird, awkward kind of character, and like in a way Jared Leto kind of fit the bill for that.
Cillian Murphy could have done it better.
That's true. That is true.
I just pulled that out of my fucking ass.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's better casting. Cillian Murphy, better.
Well, yes. Let's watch. Let's review Morbius while we're at it.
Are you? I mean, come on.
I never saw.
Do I even need to say?
I never saw it.
You didn't see it?
Just listen to our review. It's fine.
Oh, dude, Morbius. Oh, man.
That's okay.
I think honestly, do you guys? We could watch that after.
We don't have to do that. No.
I'd rather watch Dynamite. If we're gonna stick around and watch, I want to watch Dynamite.
We were hanging out one night, and what did you want to watch?
Anything.
Anything.
I regret those words now because Morbius.
No. Actually, it was a Criterion Collection film.
Yeah. It might have been the one we just watched the other night.
Barry Lyndon?
Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
I think it was Barry Lyndon we were debating on, and Morbius had just hit
streaming. Yeah. Barry Lyndon, directed by a little guy named Kubrick.
And we were going back and forth, and I was like, let's watch the Morbius movie, man. It's on Netflix, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I thought it was going to be fun. And I mean, it's just so
Mediocre.
devastatingly mediocre, man. It's not bad enough to watch as a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just right there in the middle. So middling.
Yeah.
It angers you. It's
I felt
so
that way.
middling.
I felt that way when I saw Venom.
Oh yeah,
Because, and like full disclosure for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, like Sony, in an attempt to keep the rights to the Spider-Man films, are making a bunch of spin-off films using Spider-Man villains without the creative help of MCU, Kevin Feige, Disney. They're bringing their own people for that, and unfortunately, they're not good people.
No.
You know, I saw Venom, which I love Tom Hardy, and I think Tom Hardy's a great choice for Eddie Brock, but I did not like that movie. It felt like it was ripped out of 1995 screenplay that they had, and they're like,
Yeah.
just film this, and it's not good. And, excuse me, I never saw the sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage. I didn't bother with Morbius. I'm not going to see Craven, and I don't care about Madam Web. Like,
Yeah, right.
those
yeah.
are fine characters if you want to have them in a proper Spider-Man film.
Sure.
Great. And if they're a hit and they're popular as hell and you want to make a spin-off from that, I'll placate the idea, but nobody's asking for a Craven
No.
movie without a Spider-Man in it. No one's asking for, you know.
Well, and he's also supposed to be like a good guy in the movie, and it's like, what are we doing? Just make it.
They're
he's a
making them
villain.
all
Like, make it-
anti-heroes,
I don't
you
like
know.
that.
Yeah.
Some of them are just bad guys. Like Craven's a bad guy.
Right.
Just let him be a bad guy. I'm sure. Now, a nerd is probably going to.
Actually, well, actually.
I'm sure there are issues where Craven is an anti-hero, but he is mostly known
Yeah.
as a villain.
Sure.
Just let him be a bad guy. Morbius is a bad guy.
Or at very least, let him be a bad guy first.
Right.
Yeah.
And then let us learn
Get some
maybe
kind
Maybe
of
a little redemption arc.
Yeah, sure,
But
why
Venom,
not?
Venom is not. He's just a good guy. He's not even like an anti. You know, the only people that he like kills in the movie are all other bad guys. So it's like, well,
I don't even know if he kills them. He just throws a lot of them against the wall, and
He
it's
ate
it
the
implied.
one dude.
It implied. I didn't see skeleton though, so I don't
He's
know
like,
if
he's like, you know.
I don't know if he's dead.
you'll
He's
be
spinning back out later.
floating
Yeah.
down the
the guy
road.
who's like covered in goo. He's like, whoa.
No, the one dude, he said that you'll be like a turd in the wind.
Yeah.
It had to be an old script, right?
Had to be.
It had to be
And
floating
look, that
around.
is there's a similar. I don't know if it's the exact line, but there was a line like that in the comics from a Venom comic way back when. But like that doesn't mean you should take everything from old comics
Sure.
and put them
No.
on
That's
the
a
big
wink,
screen.
wink kind of thing, but it's like, come on, man, we didn't. Don't wink that.
Yeah.
You know, wink somewhere else. Not
100%.
with that one.
Yeah.
Not with that one.
So
So there's a lot of promise with the DC
Universe.
Studios.
I'm looking forward to that.
You got James Gunn at the helm, and as we discussed last week, and as you've discussed here, you know, there's a lot of potential there. There's a lot
believe
of
so.
I would say that there's hope. There's some
Absolutely.
hope. It looks like he is. The one thing that you can say about James Gunn, I mean, he's a nerd for this stuff. Like
Sure.
he lives and breathes it.
absolutely.
So, at the very least, you're gonna get a guy who seems to understand these characters like intrinsically. Only it feels like now that you go back and watch, like, say, Guardians Volume 1 and 2, that he was the only person on the planet that could have made this work,
Or would have tried.
or even
Absolutely.
greater point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially in that era.
Right.
So for him to get his hands on some of these other properties, like you were saying about like some of the lesser known characters. I mean, I know that the Blue Beetle is supposed to be like, they want that to be kind of like their Guardians, like a lesser known character that they bring to the forefront.
Right.
Buster Gold.
Booster Gold.
Booster
yeah.
Gold.
Right.
That seems like a really fun idea.
Yeah.
Like he's he's picking like shit that like seems like it's gonna be.
And that could be a fun kind of comedy superhero movie. You know, you've got Swamp Thing, which is going to be a little more horror based. So you get a true, potentially, a true diverse range of genres for these characters that fit these characters. You know, the last thing when they rebooted Spider-Man, when the first Andrew Garfield one, The Amazing Spider-Man, and they played a little more into the heavier, darker, gritty look to it, like made it at night, and you don't need to do that to everybody because, like,
Sure.
I feel like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, unfortunately, too many studio executives are, well, dark and gritty is the way to go.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, not everything. That's what the mistake happened with the Andrew Garfield one, the first one. That's definitely what was an issue with Man of Steel, is they didn't understand why these characters work. They're just trying to take what's popular right now and apply it to a character that it doesn't fit. And
same with grounding the characters too.
Yeah.
A lot of times characters don't need to be grounded in the real world.
Yeah.
Like they embody their own world, and it can be
Yeah.
bright and fun and, you know, optimistic.
Yeah.
A lot of
Absolutely.
characters are specifically that, and the only reason why something like Batman works as a gritty, dark, grounded thing is because there are other characters that are not that. You know, it's
Yeah.
absolutely.
And they play off of that
And-
in like the animated series and in the comic books. Like they
Absolutely.
play off of that. So why wouldn't you take advantage
They
of that?
they become a yin yang, like Batman and Superman's personalities.
Sure.
Become this great yin yang that just to see them interact is interesting. Whereas, you know, to talk about Batman v Superman again, Murder Man in a cape and the other Murder Man in a
Right,
cape are both
sure.
brooding and
Yeah.
miserable, and neither of them want to be there, and they both want to kill each other.
Yeah.
And it was just like there's like a soulless, joyless experience that like I don't care for either of them on this end of the fight. Like
Well, it feels like Zack Snyder was really obsessed with Injustice and the idea of like trying to fit that into, because every time that Superman is used or brought up, it's always with this kind of like cynical,
Yeah.
like
that's because
he's eventually gonna turn, like he's only
he's into the Ayn Rand dynamic, and he's far
Yeah.
away from any semblance of hope or inspiration. And look, that's his style. Fine.
Can't wait for Rebel Moon.
Anyway,
We'll see. We'll see.
you know, it didn't his touch didn't work. But like, look, he can
works.
make some really good looking visuals.
Oh, yeah.
Some stuff that in a trailer looks awesome and excites you, but it's just that. Like sometimes some of those visuals just didn't have any purpose in the movie. They were just there to look cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited, as you mentioned, Marco. Like James Gunn cares more about story and character, especially character, over a visual appeal of a cool looking shot. Or, you know, it's about the greater good of where this character starts and where they ultimately end up by the end of this film, as opposed, because like if you look at, I don't know, let's go back to Batman v Superman. Like there's really no growth. Like the one piece of growth is that Batman discovers that Superman's mom
Yeah.
has the same name as him, and suddenly he's like, well, he's my friend.
Martha.
Like that's what he says to her when he saves her. He's like, I'm a friend of your son's. Like, friend?
So bad.
37 minutes ago, you were trying to murder him.
Murder him.
So bad.
You were gonna murder him.
I was about to murder your son. I'm sorry.
But we're friends now.
Why
It's
would he
okay.
think
Like
that was enough? Why would he think that
and
that's enough?
Again, he cares more about the visual of what looks cool in the frame of a shot than what matters in a story or actually how you get to XYZ. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm really excited about, you know, and again, you can have your detractors who'd say that James Gunn might be a little too maybe a little too silly for a Superman movie, but who knows? Maybe he's writing differently in mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because of successful projects he's had in the past with big and small characters that I know well and I don't know at all. And he's made me fans
Yeah,
of those
right.
characters. So
Yeah.
I am very interested to see where he takes, especially some of these projects that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to just consume whatever his take is on this because he's going to be mindful of the source material. He's not going to change things so drastically that it's unrecognizable to the character of the comic.
Sure.
Like we're
Right.
going to get pretty accurate things that I'm sure when I'm watching, I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then I'll read up on it later, like, oh, that's exactly what it's like. Okay, cool. So then he paid honest, respect to the material. Cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate it for that. So I am very excited though for it.
Well, I don't know what movie theater you're going to watch these movies in because if it's up to AMC, buddy, I don't know what your finances are looking like right now, but
Oh boy.
if you want those hot seats, you're going to have to pay up for them. AMC announced what I just can only describe as one of the greatest corporate blunders I've ever heard in my entire life. If I was like that dude, the finance guy on CNN or whatever he's on, I would just be like, sell this stock. Get the fuck- I cannot wrap my head around this. At this moment in time, with people reeling from what we've experienced in the past couple of years. The streaming services raising their prices. The movie theaters are already hard enough to go to in the first place without you jacking the prices up. I mean, all of these. I mean, we've got what some financial people are calling. We're on the cusp of another recession, right? I don't know how much truth there is to that. This is not a political podcast. Go fuck yourself. But all I know is people are not in the position to be spending more money on leisurely things, and yet here comes AMC with. Do you have the article pulled up?
I do.
Do you mind
yes.
filling this rant with context?
Okay. So, according to the New York Times, AMC Entertainment, the world's largest cinema chain, said in a news release on Monday that this new pricing system, known as Sightline at AMC, would be in place at all of its United States theaters by the end of the year. The seats in the front row of the theater will be the least expensive, and seats in the middle of the theater will be the most expensive.
So funny.
Excuse me.
Get
However,
down there, you pores.
However, break your neck. However, new prices will not affect showings before 4 p.m. or tickets sold at a special discount on Tuesdays, AMC said.
So they're saying if you go to a matinee, you're good, and if you go on Tuesday night movie night, you're good.
Sure.
But but on the days that people actually go to movies
And times.
yeah, you're gonna have to pay more.
Right.
I mean, what a
When theaters are still trying to claw their way back.
right.
They're
trying to get more butts and seats, and the thing again,
expensive butts.
it's I can't even. I don't even know where to start. I don't know. I'm so when I heard this news, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like an Onion article. There's no way that they would think that this is a good idea. How could they? How could they? How could they? This is insane. It is insane.
It feels like, because last week Netflix was making the announcement about cutting down the password sharing.
Sure.
And it's like, oof, what a big blunder that is. And then like the execs at AMC is like, hold my beer. Yeah. I got this.
Seriously.
And it's like,
it's great. How can you? I mean, obviously something like this has to be like months or maybe even years in the works. But again, the press that Netflix is getting right now for the password sharing thing,
Which they canceled.
Which they've
they
said, that was
they've walked it back.
That was released in
Temporarily.
an air because
Yeah,
they realize they have to reword how they want to approach this.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
That's what it is. They pulled it back so that it doesn't sound so shitty.
Sure.
And with this AMC thing, Elijah Wood of all people, he pretty much summed it up very well, which is that like you are punishing poor people. Honestly, like when you it's. I know some people are going to say, well, I mean, the middle seats aren't even like the best seats, which objectively, you're wrong. They are the best seats. Like, I don't know where you sit in a fucking movie theater. Why do you think AMC is jacking up the prices on the middle seats? They're the best seats. So, fuck that argument. I don't want to hear anybody who's like, it's not even a big deal. Sit in the fucking front.
Yeah.
Sit in the fucking frnt then. You ever sat in the front?
It sucks.
Yeah.
You ever sat in the front?
Not out of choice.
Dude, I sat in the front in a 3D movie. Oh. I wanted to
Got poked in the eye all night.
And that was just him putting his glasses back up. And he's like, oh, God.
It's real.
Let me know if anything happens over there.
You know what it was? It was My Bloody Valentine when they brought it when they did the remake.
Nice.
My Bloody Valentine 3D. The guy's like throwing axes at the fucking screen and shit. I'm like, it fucking sucks. It's terrible. And that's it. Like I just don't get these. I don't like these companies are just like they're watching people flounder in the streets and they're like, you know what? Let's just keep poking and stabbing and prodding.
It's just I love a movie theater experience. There's something special about going to a theater, sitting down, and in a shared space with other people to experience this film. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a silly film, a comedy, a comic book movie, a drama, an Oscar-worthy, whatever it is, you're sharing this space and you're in this world together. And I enjoy as well when the movie's done. I enjoy sitting for the first little bit in the credits, talking with the person I'm with.
Yeah.
Kind of just gauging the initial fresh thoughts. And then, you have your ride home where you still kind of ruminate on what you saw and what you're thinking. And I love that whole experience as a package. And I think a theatrical experience is very important in that regard. To some of these movies deserve to be seen on a big screen, and just the bombastic nature of seeing it on a big screen is amazing. And look, a lot of people can have a beautiful home theater set up now that is a decent, a decent equivalent, but not a full substitution.
Mm-mm.
But movie theaters, the fact that it feels like they're constantly trying to push people. They keep trying to attract people who don't want to go to the movies instead of catering to people who actually want to go and are the ones who go and actively go for things, and to constantly push those people away.
Let me get a glass for that last week.
Go for it. To constantly push people away, it's very frustrating because, as you guys have mentioned, it's a very expensive venture on its own. Food, popcorn, and all that. And I get it. The theaters only make a small percentage of what the film makes.
Sure, on tickets.
So they have to make up for that. And I've never been, but I've heard only wonderful things about like Alamo Drafthouse.
Oh, yeah,
about how they
yeah.
handle things, and that to me sounds like a dream,
Right?
A dream theater experience.
Yeah.
And I would love to have that, but more and more they're doing the opposite. Where like you have your VIP seats where I'm trying to watch a movie and they're like, "Is there anything else you'd like?" And it's like, "I'd like for you to go away." I'm trying to watch this movie. That's a distraction that unfortunately, look, hey, it's great, big comfy seats are neat, but when it takes away from the joy of why I'm here,
sure,
it hurts. And now when you're affecting where I want to sit for less than stellar qualities, a lot of times some of these theaters don't even take care of their screens or the audio, the speakers. So, if you want me to pay premium price, I don't mind as long as I'm getting a premium experience as a result of it. Sure. And that has not been the case in many years. And it's just like...
But also the other thing is like, how are you going to enforce this? Are you going to have somebody walking up and down the aisles and like, checking ticket price?
A 17-year-old kid after school going, "Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Did you pay the premium fee?"
And then like, what happens?
Show me your papers.
When the guy's like, what happens when a guy's sitting in the middle of the movie theater and he's like, "No, I threw away my ticket." Like, you're going to have this 17-year-old kid kick this guy? Like, you're just asking for problems. Right. You're just asking for more for more drama for what?
Yeah.
Fucking.
Well, for money, Marco. That's.
Well, I mean, AMC fucking sucks anyway. I'm so glad that like Orlando is dominated by Regal Cinemas because we don't have to even deal with. There's one AMC.
AMC's the biggest major theater company.
Yeah,
currently.
Which is crazy to think about because like there's so many Regals here.
Yeah.
There's only the one big AMC. Well, there's more than that, but yeah, in Altamont there's the one. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've hit it a couple of times. It's a nice theater, but it's like it's not, it's just crazy that AMC dominates everywhere else but here. So like it's a problem. Like it's like
Maria Menounos.
Yeah. It's like the problem that we have being in Florida with Ron DeSantis burning books.
Sure.
Told you it wasn't a political podcast. Everywhere else doesn't have to deal with that, but we do. And they just look at us and go, "Wow, what a life they must be living out there."
Must be
they
rough
won't
out there.
let your kids read about Hank Aaron. Sorry.
It's all right.
You don't have to apologize. They do.
The people got to know.
So yeah, I don't see this either. To me, I think it's going to go one of two ways. I think that this is probably going to spell the end of AMC as we know it currently, or it doesn't happen at all. They're going to see the backlash and the fervor from the general public, and they're going to walk it back.
My hope is the success of the online backlash to Netflix, the way that worked.
Right.
I'm hoping a similar aspect happens here with AMC because it's just such a dumb thing to like. I get it. You have to.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a dumb thing. Like I get it. You're trying to increase your profits, but when this is the way that you're trying to, invest in your theater to make it more appealing to bring more people in.
The way to do it, in my opinion, and obviously I'm not a number cruncher. I am very bad at math, actually. But look, why not just do the part of this that discounts the tickets in, not the best locations of your theaters? They'll bring more people in.
Right.
Outside of Tuesday, where it's already discounted, discount, the problematic areas. You'll get more people to come in and buy tickets that maybe wouldn't have gone to the movie that night.
Yeah.
And then also, obviously, you get more revenue sales.
Absolutely. That is, I just do the opposite of
And
what
then-
you're doing,
and then-
and you make more money.
Yeah, do the opposite, and then not only that, but then you also get way better PR.
Yeah.
Listen, immediately.
If you want to come to these, oh my God, I didn't even think about it that way. But that's exactly what you do.
Right.
You make people sit in those broke neck seats, and you go, listen, it's $5 to sit down there. It's not
Sure.
the best spot, but it's cheaper,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
is a discount for people. It's not a punishment. It's like, hey, look, we know it sucks down there, but if you sit down there, we'll knock off. That's what
Sure.
you do. You don't
Yeah.
go, now you got to sit down there while
Right.
the rest of us sit up here.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Right.
It's easy. The PR is right there. Who was the person who was like, that there was somebody in that room who was like, I mean, shouldn't we just do that? And they were like, and they just get the fuck out of here.
Unless they're just betting on people being dumb enough to buy the extra price tickets instead of buying the cheaper ones and then moving.
Oh shit! They keep comparing it to. I need that. They keep comparing it to theaters.
Sure, it's more in line with other places that you would go to buy a specific seat, which is the way that movie theaters work now. In case you woke up from a coma. I don't know who doesn't know that it works that way. I'm sorry.
Somebody sitting in a hospital who just got out of a coma was like, what? Honey, did you know about this?
I'm still waiting for my Netflix DVD.
My DVDs to come in.
Yeah, but they want their movie theater experience to be like if you went and saw, a play.
Sure.
And they want to compare it to those things, but it's like, hey man, there's a storied history of that not being the case. Why do you think in the year of our Lord 2023 you're going to change the perception of movie theaters and compare them to going to see an actual stage production?
Sure.
And price things out that way? It's just, I don't know, it's just a crazy thing.
Well, I will continue to go to Regal or an independent independent theater.
Sure.
Or go on Tuesdays, because honestly, nowadays, because things are so expensive, unless there's a movie that I'm like, I need to see it first weekend to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm usually, honestly, unfortunately, inclined to just wait till it comes to streaming because it's so expensive, or just go on a Tuesday, and that's what I'll just continue to do.
Hey man, I didn't watch Black Panther until it hit streaming, and I actually avoided all the fucking spoilers.
Me too, actually.
And that's
for the most part, yeah.
It's a great point to bring up, because that's another thing now because especially with Disney, so many things after 2 months, it's going to come right to your Disney Plus streaming anyway. Some people are going to be a lot more patient now than they were before.
Yeah,
right.
And
that's
just
for sure. Yeah.
Either they're going to be okay with spoilers, or no, it's not a big enough movie that they're worried about long-term spoilers for it.
You should be groveling to get people back into the theater.
Yeah.
Doing this is just
The opposite.
complete opposite.
The exact opposite,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
All right. I do have a random question for you, because we actually talked about this last week too, or maybe the week before. But the Hogwarts Legacy game is out now, and so you're seeing the reactions to the game. First, are you a big
Potterhead?
No?
Nah.
Did you?
Nah.
Meh.
All right.
Wizards.
Meh.
Who needs them?
I saw all the Harry Potter movies leading up to Deathly Hallows Part 2 coming out in theaters. Only so that I could go see Deathly Hallows Part 2, so I could see the teaser trailer for The Dark Knight Rises. Because I was like, it's not going to make sense for me to go see Deathly Hallows
Speaking
Part
of theater
2.
experience.
Yeah, I literally only did that so I could go see that on the big screen.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they're fun. They're fine.
Yeah.
And then I rewatched them actually just this past year, and they're still fun. The films are enjoyable, and some are obviously better than others.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
having now been exposed to the MCU and a proper built-up shared universe, those movies just dragged on for me as far as like setting up what we're getting to. And look,
you were upsetting some people.
Then get upset and go watch the Snyderverse. It's fine. I enjoy, none of those movies get a bad review from me. They're all minimum like 3 to 3.5 to like 4 to me, like or 4.5. Like some of them, I remember Goblet of Fire. Really liked Goblet of Fire, but I couldn't tell you anything else about the others.
I really like
so,
Prisoner
but it
Azkaban, that's
it
the
just
one.
like for me, it kind of. I do think there's a lot of rich there. The potential, much like with Star Wars, there's a lot of potential for rich history and lore to build and play off of.
Right.
On a prequel sense, as well as anything in a future sense beyond just Harry Potter's time, like.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of rich material to play off of, though. So
Well,
it sounds like an interesting concept.
I mean, speaking of that, that is exactly the plot of Hogwarts Legacy, which we already discussed. It's a weird title to call it that, but it's set, I think, 100 years before the events of
Harry Potter. Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Okay.
And the game's out now, and I'm sure you've seen all the controversy around it.
I've heard a little bit of it, but I've also, again, being not a fan of the franchise, I also like.
Doesn't really register on your Richter scale.
I looked a little bit into like some of the reviews, and I know that it looks really pretty, and I think some things are like kind of incomplete. I don't know the full scoop, so I'm.
Well, there is that IGN review that I thought was really weird. That I am in agreement with the people who read that review and was like,
what?
That doesn't. There is a conspiracy theory going around that the people who review video games are being there is a campaign to boost the numbers for the Hogwarts game. Because when you read, say, the IGN review, for instance, it reads like a 6.5, 7, maybe 7.5.
Okay.
It got a 9 out of 10, which is, I mean, you're basically you're saying that it's damn near a perfect video game.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you
The larger conspiracy going on here that they claim to be happening is that the people who received like the review codes were people that PR team specifically pointed out is like they'll review it, they'll give us a friendly
They'll be
nod.
friendly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When obviously there's all this backlash bubbling up about J.K. Rowling being this transphobe and all these things, and so there's some people saying like it looks like they only gave it to these specific outlets because a lot of outlets didn't get it that would ordinarily have gotten review codes.
Okay.
I saw it back and forth actually on Twitter of all places that. The story about IGN getting it because they were going to be friendly to it was untrue because apparently they had trouble getting the review code, but were so persistent, or basically the biggest name in video game reviews.
Yeah,
it's insane that they had any trouble getting it. They're fucking IGN. It's what.
Well, exactly right. Something is the point here is something's going on behind the scenes.
Something's off. Yeah, something's off.
That
for sure.
they were being extra selective about who got the review codes.
Yeah.
So that alone is enough to set off some, alerts about like what was happening on the PR team here to not just let the game stand on its own. And it's obvious that it has a lot to do with the fact that there's a lot of backlash to the game itself.
It's just this one lady. She just she opened her mouth on Twitter and it's called just imagine this firestorm that she's created because she just couldn't keep her shitty opinions.
She has
to herself.
ruined a franchise.
Ruined a
for
whole
an
franchise.
entire generation.
There are people who, I mean, they straight up are like, if you buy this game, you are supporting transphobia. They straight up there's no in between. It just is what it is. So much so that somebody created an account, which is as of this recording dead, but they created a website rather.
Not the person, the account.
No, the person's dead. That's why the website went down.
You made sure of that
because J.K. Rowling. It wasn't me, man.
Not on my watch.
Nothing to do with it. They had a website dedicated to. It was a search engine where you could put in your favorite streamer and see if they were playing the game or not. Just to see I need to go to their Twitch stream
and there were a few Twitch streamers, prominent ones, that were getting harassed for playing the game.
And I see that and I think harassed. Was their Twitch stream just filled with people going, "Don't play this game"?
L.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like my dad, old school.
Get over it.
Harassment. What are we talking about here? Harassment. He's not an old Italian
That doesn't
guy.
sound anything like your
he's
dad.
an old West Indian man.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's ever used the word harassment.
He doesn't know the word.
That's the title of his podcast.
Harassment.
I don't know the
I
word.
don't know the meaning of the word. But in all seriousness, it does suck for, your livelihood is to play these games, especially
Sure.
these new games. And for people who are like big Harry Potter fans, I mean, I guess I shouldn't feel sorry for them. They're making millions of dollars to play video games on Twitch. I'm not one of these people that's like harassment and like your privacy being violated and all these other consequences to being famous are warranted solely because
Getting
you are
doxxed.
famous.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. You hear that argument all the time, like this is what you signed up for, and I'm just like,
No.
no, right.
No.
But at the same time, like, I don't know, your Twitch stream, your chat being filled with people who are like, don't play this game. Like, you knew the consequences, I think, right?
I would hope you would. I've seen other, streamers and online personalities saying specifically, I'm not playing this game because I know people are going to be upset about it. Like, my audience is not going to like the fact that I'm doing that, so I'm choosing not to do that, at least publicly. Like,
I think you have to stand on it one way or the other, man. Be 10 toes one way or the other. Do you like Harry Potter? Can you look past J.K. Rowling's statements? Then play the game. And don't let people, influence your decision one way or the other. But if if your moral compass is telling you that this is not the right thing to do, then stand on that. Don't put it on like, I just don't want to face any kind of harassment, or I've seen what happened to other people and I'm just not going to deal with it. It's like, listen, stand on it, bro. I just want you to be, don't be influenced by what these people because by the end of the lifespan of this game, we're not going to be talking about this. You know what I'm saying? Harry Potter fans will.
Yeah.
But the rest of us are not going to be talking about this.
The thing is, there is this thing of being able to separate the art from the artist.
Oh, yeah.
we talk about that
Which-
plenty. Yeah.
Look, if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, there's a lot of artists that we all love who've done some really deplorable things, some really messed up things.
Yeah.
Some of them, they acknowledge that they were mistakes and have atoned for it and have made the efforts to atone for it. And others just don't give a shit. And I'm not saying it's a one-size-fit-all type of thing. I feel like case by case, you have to address that.
Sure.
For me, it's easier because I'm not a big Potter fan, so it's easier for me to disconnect from it. However, there are plenty of things I do love in comic books, in professional wrestling, where a lot of...
Cool, buddy.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things in there where it's like, oh, wow, yeah, Vince McMahon is a piece of shit.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
a lot of separating the art from the artist.
And look, I could still hate the guy, but appreciate little facets of this conglomerate of a company that he owned, or owns, because he's back in charge. But it's tough because you're not going to be able to please everybody in how you address these type of things.
Right.
And, there are a lot of people who put a lot of work into this game, who put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into making it a reality. People who are passionate about this game, about this franchise, who are 100% against J.K. Rowling's opinions and thoughts on transphobia. And and it's tough for, I imagine it's how crushing it's got to be for them that this is a dream project to be a part of, and no one's talking about it. No one's talking about the quality of the game. They're too busy talking about the connection to, and that's J.K. Rowling's fault for bringing this on her own property. And I never saw any of the Fantastic Beasts movies, but
you don't have to.
I that's what it sounded like to me, and I wasn't, again, the Harry Potter films were fine for me, whatever, but this sounded like it sounded like they had less of a plan of what to do.
Yeah.
And they were just like movie by movie, like, is this? And whatever. But like, I heard that that's kind of wrapping up early. Both, the law of diminishing returns as far as success for those films were coming up, but as well with the J.K. Rowling not doing herself any favors for expanding and being welcoming into, for someone who is so into the world of wizardry and being able to do anything with a flick of a wand, to be like, well, I think it's just it's closed-minded, it's silly as hell. But look, I can't fathom for people I can't fathom how difficult it must be for people who are fans of that and feel that immediate backlash from a creator of something that you would adore and love that much. That I can't fathom how awful that must be.
Well, and then not to mention, so much of the LGBTQ community embraced Harry Potter because of it being about outsiders and this fantastical world that's beyond the normalcy of and normal hate of what we face in our real world.
Yeah. Unless you're one of those goblins that has to be a slave until you get clothes.
Sure. Yeah.
Dobby won't play this game. It's transphobic.
Yeah, there's obviously some stuff in hindsight that was a little weird.
There's more troubling stuff than just the...
Yeah. But, at the time, obviously, it was... a lot of our generation grew up with it, like, with the characters, basically the same age as these characters were in the books. So it has to be just absolutely crushing to feel like you can't enjoy the thing that you loved for so many years that was, like, formulative for you.
Absolutely.
Definitely. That would I mean, honestly, man, I've had these things. I know how that feels. Like, I know that I've made it a meme to be like, fuck Hulk Hogan, but like the reason that I rail on that so much and the reason that I have my foot on his neck for the rest of my life is because I feel so betrayed by a person that I looked up to, a person that I thought was like a shining example of like just a guy. He just was a dude, and he was a champion, and he was a positive dude, and he was like really smart. And this is obviously all this. I had this
character
glowing
stuff.
And then when you
say your prayers, eat your vitamins,
and all that shit where you're just like, this is a dude that just was like, he just wanted the best for people. He wanted the best for kids. He wanted the best for his family. And then you hear the heinous things that he said about my people, and it felt like a betrayal. It wasn't just that he was saying these heinous things. It was that I felt betrayed. I felt like this. How could you do this to me? I took it personally. And I still do. So fuck Hulk Hogan.
Fuck Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea, if you're watching this, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Piece of shit.
And so I get where, the LGBT plus community and the trans community, where how they look at it is like, I felt included, and now I feel, kicked out and not included and discluded. Like, it just sucks.
To add on to what you were mentioning about the stuff with Hogan, because again, look, there are times people make mistakes. There are times people say the wrong thing, or oh, that was 10, 20 years ago. I was a different person. I made a mistake. I've grown from it. There's a difference if you acknowledge that you've made mistakes.
Right.
But like the stuff with Hogan is, I remember seeing that they had a backstage meeting with people at a Raw where he merely apologized for it coming out, not for the statements themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's... it's like trying to tell your partner, like, well, I'm sorry you found out I was cheating. I feel bad about that you found out. Like,
you shouldn't have known
that.
that.
Like, you weren't meant to know that. I apologize for that. It's like, that's not the point. Like, this is not a good apology.
Right.
Like, you're not appropriately addressing what the issues are here.
Right.
And that's why, as you said, I'm like, fuck that guy. Like, yes, he is a pivotal piece of wrestling history. He is incredibly popular for the era he was in Hulkamania in the 80s was a huge deal. His resurgence in WCW with the NWO was a huge deal. Like, he evolved with the industry for a long time. However, you have to call a spade here and acknowledge now what you do know.
A spade. He'll call up some other stuff too.
He doesn't like those black ones though.
Yeah.
But like that's unfortunate. It's like that's just the reality. And now, as you said, fuck that guy. And I can, there is, like I said, there's a difference between separating the art from the artist. But when it's something like that, it's like you now understand how embedded it is in that person, that it unfortunately it's that severe that it just takes you out of being able to enjoy anything that they're a part of.
Right. Sure. And to that point, J.K. Rowling is a person who is not even, she doesn't think that there's anything wrong with the things that she said, so it's not, there's no apology.
No,
it's just
the opposite of that. She has continued.
She has doubled and tripled down on how she feels about this.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of people, even though, as we stated before, there are a lot of people who worked on this game that, they are trying to make their own, sort of statement on the world within
Right.
it.
Yeah.
It's their own now. We've seen this go from J.K. Rowling's vision to something else, and that's ingrained within Harry Potter with the Potterverse and the the online resources that people have had to make their own like stories within the Potterverse. This is now like that, with a budget essentially,
right?
In a video game form. The people who are working on this game had to have been fans, to make it work.
Yeah.
So it's tragic on one hand to see that they put in all this work to try to make it something that distances itself from J.K. Rowling. But ultimately, she's still making money off of it.
Right.
So that leads a lot of people to go, well, I can't in good conscience put money towards this knowing where that money is going.
Right.
Because it will inevitably fund somebody that, it puts a large portion of her fortune towards, anti-trans rhetoric. Yeah.
I think in that, it's 100% understandable as well, like how difficult that must be as well for people to want to invest in something they love and knowing it goes to something, in moments like that. And maybe, and I haven't read up on anybody doing this, but I imagine if I were that passionate of a fan and I was also that angry about, if I wanted to play this game, I've waited my whole adult life to play this game, maybe I can, any semblance of taking back power in like creating my character to be exactly what I want it to be, something that J.K. Rowling would hate. But in this Potterverse, they are the hero of this universe and this world. And, in an effort, making your own fan fiction, creating your own version of it, of your own element of this Hogwarts Legacy and making it your own and taking it away from, and at the same token as well, investing and donating to, the camera just died.
It's okay.
Okay, well, still, you could still invest, your money in donations towards, awareness or companies, not companies, but like charities that help LGBT community, that like something that J.K. Rowling would have nothing to do with.
Yeah.
You can do your part in that regard because take, again, and I'm not saying you have to stop. You can't like, it's not like the game actively or the franchise actively promotes transphobia.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that that's how that creator feels, and it's a shitty notion. But I don't. Again, it's shades of gray because I don't think it's fair to immediately be like you're promoting transphobia.
No,
like that's an unfortunate backlash that a lot of people. There are probably some gamers out there who have no clue about what she has said because they're just like, oh, it's a new game. Oh, Harry Potter, that seems fun, and are clueless, and then they find out well after the fact.
Well, and again, like we said before, the internet is so based on these absolute extremes that, of course, there are people on the other side of this who are transphobes that are saying, "Oh, I'm buying 5 copies because I just want to stick it to the woke." Yeah.
Sure.
So, like, then people who are legitimately concerned about giving money to J.K. Rowling see that and go, "You see, that's what they're all doing. That's how they all feel." And it's like, no, it's not that. It's really not that. And especially because I've seen some streamers saying like, hey, I was planning on streaming this and giving the money I get on this stream to trans rights activists. And they canceled it because they don't want the backlash of even doing it in the first place because people are getting all up in arms and upset about it.
Yeah.
You know what's got to happen? You have to promote to the state of Florida that the Harry Potter books promote transphobia so that they immediately will ban it from libraries just so that they could yank them from.
Yes, exactly.
They tried to do that for like witchcraft way back when they came out. So
they did.
Do it again now, but just to stick it to J.K. Rowling.
Oh man.
DeSantis and the rest of the government, they'd be like, no. She is a shining example of an author.
She's a good witch.
I don't think we're gonna solve it today.
No,
but I think
we might. Let's keep going.
We'll come back around.
It's got another 2 hours.
All right. I think we should get into an uplifting, a positive, a upswing, if you will. It's now time for the cheers of the week. The show's not over. Okay, we got to do the cheers of the week. Okay, we gotta end this on a positive note. All right, Andino, I want to start with you. If you got something.
Yeah.
All right. Hit us.
You know, I won't go into my personal life right now, but I will say that something that has helped keep my head above water, when times have been difficult in the last few months, but something that has been incredibly uplifting and encouraging for me has been. I had two things I wanted to kind of talk about here, so I'm going to kind of put them in together. But one has been therapy. I've been doing it now like 10 months, and that has been transformative for how I see myself, how I see my family, how I see my decisions, my thoughts, how they impact me, and how I can better communicate to myself and communicate to others. That has been transformative for me to better to just live a better, more thoughtful, authentic life. And to not be scared to acknowledge feelings you're having, because maybe they aren't as serious as they think they are. And if they are, it's the opportunity to address those in a healthy, safe, protected environment. And, sometimes you feel like you can't. We all have best friends that we share stuff with, but, there comes a limit to what you would delve into, let alone the level of information you'd share. And to be fair to your friend, they also may not know the best way to help you.
Sure.
Right. So that has been a transformative, positive thing for me. And to coincide with that, I've been doing yoga off and on for a decade, but for the last 2 years, it's been pretty serious that I've done it now, about 5 days a week, more often than not. And in therapy, it's helped me translate some of the tools that I have learned through yoga to apply to my everyday life, which has only helped me live a more fulfilling life. And as we joked about earlier, being able to let it go when things really annoy me on a whether it be a film franchise or something with wrestling or anything in media or life, understanding what's worth giving my attention to, what's worth getting upset about, and what's it sucks, but I also know that I can't give this much energy to that because it takes away from being able to give it to my family and friends who deserve that energy from me.
Right.
So, both of those have been transformative for me in the last, if you want to say the last year, it's been incredibly transformative. And it's something that I look forward to continue to grow on and expand on to make me a better Bryan going forward. We all make mistakes. We all have hiccups, but, being able to learn from it and know better, you can do better. And that has helped me be in a much healthier place as an individual, which makes me more excited to live life and more excited to watch film, dig deeper in gaming, dig deeper in my own life, try to live a more fulfilling life, whatever that means to me, and sharing that love and joy forward to other people. That's my cheers of the week here.
Here. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yes, we're big proponents of therapy and
Yes.
maybe yoga.
We're all therapy men on this podcast.
We are.
I've tried yoga
Certified.
before, and it's awesome.
It's great.
It's so much harder than people give it credit for. It's so much harder. I went to a hot yoga class.
I love hot yoga.
Just got destroyed.
Yeah, you gotta build to that. That's something you need to be a little comfortable with and hydrated a couple days prior because you just sweat buckets in that hour.
I was like, everybody's stanking here, man.
Yeah, that is a reality of it, unfortunately.
All right, Obi, what's your cheers?
My cheers of the week is axe throwing.
Fuck yeah. Hey, listen. Listen. I knew that yours and I's were going to be, deeply unserious. And I was thinking about it as Andino was going
deeper.
Listen,
My heart was dropping.
The last time this happened, we actually had Steve, another friend of the show. We had him on, and he cheers, and he did something silly. I can't remember what it was. And then my cheers was about my dead dog. So
That's true.
it got really, so that's how it goes sometimes.
That's funny.
It's about celebrating something positive in your
Absolutely.
life, or
As serious or unserious as you
Yeah.
need.
Big or small, absolutely.
Exactly, yes.
Celebrating those victories.
Right.
Yes.
Let me get into axe throwing, man.
Please.
So Sherry, my girlfriend, and I, for our anniversary, we decided to try axe throwing for the first time. We went to this place on University, if you're a local, called Rockstar Axe Throwing. They were phenomenal.
Shout out to Rockstar Axe Throwing.
Rockstar Axe Throwing. We did the package where you can get hatchets and knives.
Ooh.
So
That's actually pretty fucking cool.
it was awesome. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad that we decided to do that instead of bowling, because originally we were thinking of doing bowling.
Yeah.
Bowling's great. Still love bowling. But this was like so different, but the same vibe, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just really fun to try something different that neither of us had ever done before, and ended up by the end of it being really good at it.
It's great.
So
Nice.
I highly recommend it if you've never tried before. Don't be intimidated. It's a lot of fun. Be safe. Wear closed-toed shoes. But it is fun. And you know what? I guess if we want to get a little bit deeper on it, try something new. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh wow, getting choked up already.
Yeah. Thinking about trying something new, man. All right, my cheers of the week is going to my love that I just realized about myself for like these broken, weird characters on these TV shows. Say like, for example, House, or
Okay, yeah.
you know, like The Mentalist, or I started watching Will Trent, which is a new show that's on like ABC or NBC. So like these
Oh
weird.
right, the detective guy,
Yes.
right, with the dog.
So his big thing, which is serious. It's a serious issue, but it's not.
He's
as,
objectively hot.
He
I've
is-
seen the commercials.
Hey, he is. Yes, she says that, and yeah, their relationship. But so whereas someone like Dr. House is an opioid addict,
Sure, yeah.
Will Trent is dyslexic.
Okay.
And that's his big thing.
That's
He
it?
can't read.
Does that affect
Oh,
his detective skills?
You would think that
He
it would.
sees clues backwards. Very, very
No,
confused.
dyslexia, very serious condition.
Sure.
And he is dyslexic to the point of illiteracy.
Oh, wow.
And so he has discovered new ways to basically see the world, and it's made him a better detective for it. But it also has obviously made him like, you know, he's got this backstory of being from a foster home. He was abused as a kid. I mean, they really fucking go, you know,
It's a lot of
whole hog
backstory
on this
here,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, like he's been, you know, he's had the shit kicked out of him. He's dyslexic. It's like, what's that movie? Oh fuck, Precious. Remember Precious?
I was gonna say Precious, but I thought that couldn't
like, "There's no
possibly
way."
be the answer.
No, but seriously, man, they're like, let's just inject all the world's ills on
What
this
if
one.
Precious was a detective? Give her a badge and a gun.
You've been given 22 episodes.
She ain't gonna last that long.
Oh,
She had AIDS, dog. She had
Spoilers!
AIDS.
I haven't seen it yet. Ah!
I'm sorry, but that's the end of the movie. It's not a movie.
the Precious Cinematic Universe.
Oh, I got some jokes, but it's gonna get way better.
No, we don't gotta go
We'll
there.
wait for after the mic.
This is the
Will-
cheers of the week.
Will Trent. I'm watching it, and I'm like, you know what? Like these network TV shows kind of fucking suck, you know?
Yeah.
But this show, yo, not for nothing, it's pretty fucking good.
Okay.
Like the acting is really good. The you know, there's still like some fantastical situations that they get into where you're like, that would never happen in a real, like no one would react that way. That's weird. But as far as that goes, I mean, I think they're only 5 episodes deep. It's already better than any fucking NCIS or like these, you know, daytime detective or cop
Sure.
shows that I've seen in the past. like-
Procedural.
yeah, it's really good. And I realized about myself that like those are Psych is one of my favorite TV shows.
Right.
Okay.
The Mentalist is one of my favorite TV shows. House is like a top 3 show for me. I've realized like I'm drawn to these,
Right.
and they know it. You know,
Yeah.
these writers
These
and
broken men.
They know it. They know that that's what people are interested in. That
Sure.
shit. Like kind of
Right.
shitty, broken dudes who are also geniuses.
Yeah.
Everybody wishes that they were like, you know, kind of dark and moody and
Mm-hmm.
also a fucking genius.
Yeah,
And
of course.
it's a trope. It's a fun trope, and it's something that I've seen 1,000 times. And for some reason, I can watch it 1,000 times more.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Well, we'll drink for that.
cheers.
Cheers,
here.
gentlemen.
All right. I think we got it. But the only way to know that we've got it is if Adam says we got it. Do you think we got it?
Well, we got one more thing to get.
Oh, shit. See, this is why I talk to you. This is why I ask you before we can leave.
And that's the beer review. You also forgot one other thing, my friend, which is me talking about the beer at the top of the show.
I remembered forgetting. Now, I didn't want to bring it up because I already
That's better than
felt-
forgetting.
I already felt so shitty about that intro that I didn't want to also be like, you know what? I also forgot to throw to you for the intro.
Well, Andino
So-
was already going, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Exactly. So
Just chomping
believe
at
me,
the bit.
believe me, I thought I was sitting there
It's
going,
fine,
I
it's
didn't
fine.
even throw to Adam for the fucking
Look.
intro.
There's not even a cold read on the can, so I'll just give you this from their the Sideward Brewing official Instagram. This is the Bonide. It's a Czech dark lager, crisp hint of roast with that signature Czech bitterness. Great for crushing with a few gam this weekend. 5.5% ABV.
There you go. All right, you remember the scale?
I do not.
Okay, so we do 6 out of 6 bottle caps.
Okay.
So 1 through 6, I would say.
It makes no mathematical sense.
Nope.
Don't try to make it.
1 through 3-ish would be your normal domestic beers, like everything that you've had before.
Right.
Something that you decently enjoy but wouldn't recommend. 3.5. 4 is something that like we're here, we're on the show, we're having it, it tastes good, but would you seek it out? Probably not. Anything above, say, a 4.5 and
Okay.
into that 6 range, obviously, is going to be a tremendous beer. 6
it.
out of 6 is something that you need to have. It's a favorite. Anytime you see it, you get
Sure.
it. It's a perfect beer. You can't think of anything better. So,
Well, I'll lead because of the explanation there. I'm not typically a dark lager kind of guy, but I have enjoyed it. I've actually had more than I expected to have. I ended up having now my whole one and a little extra that we had of that extra can.
Sure.
I would give it 4 out of 6 bottle caps.
Okay.
there you go.
Yes.
4 out of 6.
Obi?
I am going to give it a 4.5.
Oh, yeah.
I think it hits the notes that it's asking us to get. I like the roastedness of it. I enjoy a bitter beer, so this is helping with that as well. It's not too sweet, which I enjoy. I think if I were to see this out somewhere randomly, would I get it? Maybe. Depends on my mood. But it is light enough to be able to crush. I like it. I wouldn't say I love it, but I like it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a 4, a 4.5. I'm going to just round it out and give it a 5.
Okay.
Because this is actually kind of like right up my alley. A dark lager is literally, I mean, now they can't see it, but, lager. It's just,
Sure.
it's exactly what I want. Like a malty, bitter, not too sweet, kind of bready, dark lager. I think it's great. So I'm going to give it a 5.
Nice.
All right.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for having me on. This has been great to be a
course.
part of again. And, I hope to do this again in 9 years.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
We'll just keep doing
Every
the
9 years.
anniversary. Yeah.
Only bring me back every 9 years.
Well, thank you for being on the show, man. When Adam told me you were in town, I was like, oh, perfect. We got to get him back on the show. So I'm glad that
been
this
great.
all came together organically. So, yeah, just thanks.
Oh, thank you. This has
Indeed.
been great. Thank you, guys.
All right.
course.
This has been the One Beer In podcast for myself, Marco Dupa, for Adam Obesius Rodriguez,
Yeah, buddy.
and for Bryan Andino.
Thank you very much.
We got to get into these cookies. I know they're crazy banana delicious.
Have you not had anything yet? Wow. That's...
Do you not see the saliva?
It's just like Pavlov's
Good
dog.
Lord.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Drink delicious beer, enjoy some crumble cookies, and have a beautiful evening.
We love you.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.